Hey guys, it's Oak here. I haven't made one of these videos in a while. How is everyone? How is everyone going? You going good? You're getting all right. Let's you know what? Skip the pleasantries. Let's just get on with it. Rocket League. Rocket League has had a enormous resurgence as of late. A huge resurgence, enormous. Haven't seen anything like it really since Zen, the Zen and Ruas 1v1 specifically. I have not seen anything like it. It is a enormous uh comeback for Rocket League, all because of Jinxie and all of that. Really enormous. Um, but I do want to just kind of preface this video by saying I'm not going to be talking about Rocket League in a positive light here. I'm going to be being very factual as like I usually am, and maybe a bit of a downer when it comes down to it, but at the end of the day, I'm just being realistic for what you guys who might be looking to get into Rocket League should expect, and what Rocket League holds in the future as someone who has been playing the game since its inception, since before its inception. Playing me back with my old PlayStation 3, playing super powered acrobatic, what was it? Super acrobatic rocket powered battle cars. Playing on the PlayStation 3. This is this is what happened. So, yeah. I've been playing it for a long time. I got to a very, very high level in the game, the highest rank at the time. Twice, actually. I was Platinum, which was the highest rank, and then I was Grand Champ, which was also the highest rank. But now, am I washed? You know, some may say that I am. Others would say that it's just rust, and I need to rinse myself off a little bit. But anyway, besides the point, let's get into it. So, the first thing I want to talk about today, Rocket League has seen a influx of new players, unlike anything we've seen before since really the inception of Rocket League, all thanks to people like Jinxie and Sketch who are bringing new players into the game. It's awesome. It's fantastic. New players means, new inventive minds to bring to the game and invent new ways to play. Creativity is a massively, massively huge thing in Rocket League. The way to play is not set in stone as it is for many, many other games. Your creativity honestly gets you places in Rocket League, which in other games it doesn't. You have to be very meta strict, and while there is some of that to a degree in Rocket League, it is by no means what binds you to getting a high rank. You can get a high rank like in many, many, many ways. Now, in saying that, there are some things I think you guys who are looking to get into Rocket League from watching Jinxie's sketch, those guys should really know about the game. Rocket League has one of the highest, if not the highest, skill ceilings in gaming, and it's not debatable. The only game that comes close is Smash. And I don't mean nowadays Smash. I mean like Smash Melee. Like there is no game where the skill gap between you as a top tier player, like world champion, and the bottom player is so far. Just to give you a bit of an idea, okay? I, at my highest point, was the highest rank in the game, okay? The highest rank in the game. I was halfway in terms of skill level to being a world champion. In fact, that's not even true. I was closer to the worst player in the game than I was to the best player in the game. That is the sort of skill level, the highest rank in the game. These people are the same rank as me, same rank, but we're worlds apart. Worlds apart, right? And it's not even close. Obviously, now it's changed around a bit. The highest rank is SSL. It still doesn't matter, man. The bottom of SSL, like the bottom of the highest rank in the game currently, you're probably only 60% of the way to being good at the game. It is insane just how good these players can get. Which brings me on to my next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the overall, how would you put it? Rocket League has no transferable skills. What do I mean by this? The closest games you are going to get to Rocket League are racing games, right? Obviously, because of the cars. This has next to no transferable skills into Rocket League, okay? Rocket League is a mishmash of soccer, cars, and flight simulators all pushed into one. And the higher the skill gap goes, the more extreme it is that it goes into its own category. Because at the start, when you're bronze and you're just kind of driving around, it's a car simulator. When you enter platinum, oh, well, there's a bit of flying now, so it's a bit of a flight simulator. And now you're in diamond, you actually have to play quickly. So now you've got 3 of those balancing along the lines of a racing simulator. And then the higher you go, the more and more it stretches into its own category to the point where it is unrecognizable from any other game. There are no transferable skills you can gain from any other game to bring into Rocket League. And this is very important because most gamers these days already have a large degree of transferable skill from other games. Let's just list off a few examples. You've got your Fortnite, you've got your Apex Legends, you've got even COD, you've got Siege. All of these games blend into each other to some degree, because at the end of the day, you're shooting, right? And as long as you're shooting, you have some degree of skill transfer. Rocket League has none of this, and it makes it incredibly polarizing. People these days are used to being good at games by default, right? You spawn in as good at your worst game as your worst game, right? Let's just re-say that. The way I like to think about it is you spawn into a new game as good as how you play your worst game, right? So players, and especially people these days, expect to be pretty decent at most games they are already familiar with, especially competitive games, right? This makes Rocket League extraordinarily polarizing and explicitly difficult. It is hard. It is really, really hard to get the hang of Rocket League. You can go for thousands of hours without seeing any progress in your ranking at all in some cases. When you're in the newer ranks, maybe not. You'll probably push through bronze pretty quickly into gold. From gold upward, though, you start tanking hours because you need to. Now, on to the next topic, which I want to just very gently say this. Rocket League is fucked. So Rocket League has a enormous Smurf problem, and due to a lot of reasons, really. One is it's free to play, but and that obviously just allows you to create infinite accounts and just respawn Rocket League. But a lot of Rocket League players, even in the casual modes, are extraordinarily competitive. People do not like to lose in Rocket League, and it can get quite toxic. So what people do is they create these Smurf accounts specifically to go into the lower ranks so that they don't have to worry about trying. They don't really care if they win or lose. And what ends up happening is you as a newer player will run into a bunch of older generational players who, let's say you're in gold. You might run into a couple of diamonds or a couple of champs or even a couple of grand champs, right? These guys will blend in with you very well because they've been doing this for a long time. They know how you play. But they'll start suspecting each other, and this is because of positioning. Now, even if you can't show off like your mechanics in these lower ranks, otherwise you'll get called out as a smurf. What happens is these people will position as if they know how to play the game, because it's not easy to just fake positioning. It really isn't. The way you move your car, the way it's turned, the way you turn into a 50-50, which for those of you who don't know what that is a head-on collision with the ball with another person trying to beat you on the other side. 50-50. These people will realize they are positioning too well for their rank, way too well. And the other thing that gives this away is the degree of trust in your teammate. You'll notice that when you're going around as a gold, as a bronze, as whatever, you are incredibly trusting of your teammates. Even if you don't like them, even if you think they're shit, at these ranks, you are not going to be circling all the way back to defense just in case something goes wrong. It's not in the forefront of your mind. In the forefront of your mind is get the ball, score a goal. That's what there is going on in the forefront of most people's heads at that rank. These guys will do massive rotations all the way back to defense in case their teammates fuck up, because they know it could go wrong. You know, I'm playing with a gold. I might be diamond, I might be champ. I don't trust this gold, so I'm going to rotate just a little further back than what I probably would otherwise. And this gives you away very fast. This gives you away immediately to other people who know what to look for. And so what happens is an ego war starts. I don't know if you guys have watched him, but Flats used to have a quote unquote series. Wasn't really a series, but it was more like a kind of thing that just happened because he was playing, very competitive Overwatch at the time, where he would spectate cheaters in high level areas. And if two cheaters came across each other, they would have an ego off and try and beat each other by killing the other cheater as many times as they could. This happens in Rocket League to an unseen degree. So, at the start of these matches, you will have these two players completely chill. One player will notice something's off. This guy's positioning a little too well. This guy's doing these things a little too well. Something's not right. And what happens is these players are now going at it as if it's a fucking comp game. Now, you and their teammate, should the teammate also not be a smurf, because it is highly possible that they will be, and we'll get into that in a second. These players will essentially play a 1v1 around these guys in their own actual rank. And I am guilty of this. I absolutely am. 14-year-old me was livid with Smurfs who were also Smurfs while I was Smurfing. It was irritating because as a Rocket League player, you got to understand, as a Rocket League player, you are not good at any other game. You dedicate your entire existence to this one game because it is so bloody hard to get a hold of. And when you finally get a hold of it, and you got some other guy who's like trying to stomp, people like you are, you got to shut him down. You got to say, no, we're not having that. And that's what happens. And so you essentially have these absolute units battling against each other and just shit talking in the chat. And it is the most unpleasant experience you will ever go through in Rocket League. It is awful. And it's made even worse by the fact, really, that the Smurfs entirely control the outcome. And that brings me into my next part, okay? In gun games especially, but most other games as well, so long as you have a one-on-one situation, there is a chance that you as the lower rank player can win. So like for example, let's talk COD, right? If I am going against a pro in COD, there is a non-zero chance that I hit a lucky shot and I will win a round, or I will do something and I will win something. The stakes in COD are a lot higher for the people who are higher ranked because it's just easier to play the game and get a kill. It just is. I'm sorry. For those of you who don't believe that, fair enough. I'm not going to attempt to change your mind because you're not looking. But when it comes down to it, in Rocket League, if you are a lower ranked player going against a higher ranked player, unless the higher ranked player is being nice, you are not going to win. It is almost impossible or unheard of for a higher ranked player to lose to a lower ranked player. It's not like in COD or in Overwatch or in any other game where if certain things happen, you get a few extra shots here and there, you get lucky, you go back and forth. Lucky things happen in these games. Rocket League does have lucky things. Apologies. Rocket League does have lucky things happen in its game, but those lucky things do not make you win. It just doesn't. Rocket League is it's such a high skill based game that you cannot you don't stand a chance against people who are smurfing, and this is a huge issue in my opinion in Rocket League, and it's not even the game's fault because in COD, if you are smurfing, the odds that you get killed in a game are still relatively high. You'll have a massive KD, sure, but the odds you win that you win are pretty high. They're not nowhere near as high as in Rocket League. For reference, most Smurf accounts that are really trying to win will have a 98% win ratio, right? I've never seen anything above 70 in COD, even for Smurf accounts, right? There is a degree of gap between players in certain ranks that just is insurmountable no matter how hard you try. For example, Plat to Champ, okay? Diamond is in between them. Plat at the bottom, Champ at the top of that. A Champ player will never ever lose to a Platinum player unless they are either throwing or being very, very kind. You will never ever see a Champ player lose to a Platinum. It's just and it's not through lack of trying from the Plat. It is fucking impossible for the Plat to win. You cannot win. Like and it's just the way the game works. You've got to essentially hold on for 5 minutes of brutal slaughter by the higher ranked player, and it's just impossible. And it is a huge turn off for new players because in other games there is always generally something you can do, right? There is, and really honest to God, the only exception for this, in my opinion, again, is Smash Melee. Okay, there is a whole load of stuff you can do in other games to try and turn the tides in your favor, right? In Rocket League, there is nothing you can do. No, nothing is going to save you. Nothing is going to help you. The guy will be faster, he'll be more accurate, he will beat you to everything, and if he doesn't, he's going to position better than you. And that's because the game is so open to interpretation, which is, again, where I say your creativity as a person matters in Rocket League. The more creative you are, and the more, ways you try and get around certain things and try and beat your opponents to certain things and position well, the better you are going to fare at this game. People who are naturally creative generally have a better time in Rocket League. Now let's move on, okay? I want to talk just very briefly about the esport and where I think it's going. I think that Zen was the last great Rocket League sort of woohoo, if you will. Like the loudest voice in Rocket League was when Zen went on his infamous win streak, right? An incredibly infamous win streak. Now, when it comes down to it as a whole, I don't see Rocket League esports recovering. I think Rocket League had potential, and I think it's gone. And the reason why I think it had potential is because it was a very simple premise to understand. Rocket League is very user friendly, if as an esport, if you will, because Rocket League, it's obvious, shoot the ball into the goal. It's not like Dota. It's not like League of Legends, where certain things do certain things and blah 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 and so forth, so on. But Rocket League didn't appeal to enough people because it is just so polarizing. And what doesn't help is Rocket League's current breed of players, of specialists, of pros, of people who are playing the game to the highest degree, have the personalities of a wet paper towel. They are absolute tryhards who just don't have a personality. And you notice this in the old days of most esports that have died out. Take Overwatch, for example. There are no Overwatch pros left, or next to none, that have the personality of XQC. As, you know, there's the infamous video of him walking out like Winston in that Overwatch series. I can't remember which one it was. Or, you know, just in general. You think about it to a game that you're familiar with and the pro scene you're familiar with. And in the early days when people didn't have to try as hard, you saw talents that were interesting. I think a good one for this is CJ. Infamous video of him driving out in a car to his competitive seat. No comp player is ever going to do that these days. No one. Because they're comp players, they've prioritized the game their whole lives, and because of that, it's all they know. And it's a sacrifice you have to make these days to be the best in the world at gaming, because, as I said, you spawn in to most games, in my opinion, as the worst game you are currently playing. So for me, if a game came out like Rocket League, I would probably be somewhere around the platinum to diamond level by default in that game. And very, very quickly, as long as I learned it and kept at it, I would be near the top almost every single time. And that never used to be a thing. And it's a problem, in my opinion. So these are just a few things that I wanted to talk about to people who are looking to engage a bit more with the Rocket League scene. Sorry for being a bit of a downer when it comes to it. There are obviously a lot of good things in Rocket League. A solid competitive community. The numbers are fairly stable. They are declining, but it is still fairly stable. It's not going to go anywhere. Traditionally, you don't find too many cheaters in Rocket League unless you're in the really high ranks, because, you know, that's where the cheaters are going to be. So you should be okay in that regard. The biggest problem for you guys, once again, is just going to be those Smurfs. But other than that, that's about me done yapping for today. I've got to go and make me some new tools in the forge. I broke my drift, if you know what that is. It's what you use to make the eye of like a hammer or like an axe. Specifically an axe this time, actually. I broke it on that, so... Anyway, I'm gonna go do that. Catches. See ya. Bye.